podcast from producerpaul.co.uk.
Insane in the membrane.
Oh, mate. You alright?
Oh, good. How you doing?
Yeah, good, man.
Look at this studio. Look at that old
Proper.
flash.
Yeah, we ain't fucking around,
Look
mate.
at you, mate. You look like that scene in Armageddon where they're, they're in, they're getting tested.
Oh, yeah. Proper professional unit.
Yeah,
Oh,
the little
wow.
sound pyramids behind you, the foam and everything.
Yeah, it's all going on, mate. I'm in this little cupboard. That it's great because they've got scaffolders outside, so they're being scaffolders today.
Yeah.
Singing. They sing. I mean, they seem happy with their work, but
I mean, you got to be. Otherwise, you're covering it up, aren't you?
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you've got. If you're doing, I mean, scaffolding looks like such a fucking hard job.
Mate,
You know what
you wouldn't get me up there, mate.
No.
I'm terrified of heights.
And I'd be scared of, because I know someone used to do it, and there's a thing, I think they were called traps, where they hadn't put the boards in properly, so they'd end up like it wasn't supported, so you'd step on it and just disappear, like ice road truckers.
Like some PS1 game where you step on the wrong tile.
Yeah, like snakes and snakes and literal ladders just disappear.
Yeah. The fact they call them traps is not a good thing, is
No,
it?
exactly. Yeah.
Or don't step on the happy board.
Oh, the happy board.
Neil, happy board got him.
How are you, mate? You all right?
Yeah, good.
Good.
Yeah.
There's no big introduction.
Great.
We just get on with it.
Go for it, mate. Yeah, this is your podcast. I had to listen to Tom's. Tom Hopkins.
Yeah.
Well, that was great. Really interesting to hear about the boarding school syndrome and everything and like that.
Wow. That's it. We always think that was the thing I got from that episode, was that you think that because they're in maybe a more privileged position money wise, it's still there's still shit to deal with, like being sent away at such a young age.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think my wife and I had a bit of a revelation a few years ago, and we kind of just realised, you know what? Problems don't discriminate.
No, they don't. They don't give a shit.
They don't give a shit where you came from. You're going to get some shit to deal with in your life.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the pandemic was a real leveler in the respect that it didn't matter where you were on the ladder, we were all fucked at the same time. The
interesting thing about the pandemic is now the thing is everyone went through it. Everyone in the world. I think it's one of the only things where everyone in the world you could ask, what did you do during your lockdown?
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
Whether you were in Ethiopia, in France, in London, in Sydney, everyone. Everyone went through it.
Yeah, man. I hadn't thought about that before. Yeah.
Ask some Antarctic scientist, what did you do during the lockdown?
Same as I always do. Make sure I don't defrost any monsters. I've seen the films. So, do you know what? I love I know I say this every time I see you. Your card tricks, man, your skills. Jesus. You're bending the laws of physics, mate.
Mate, I'm bending the laws of boredom, is what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Do you know what it was? It was, I've been throwing the cards for a long time, and I do mainly as training for the show. And it got to a point where it was just kind of monotonous. And then during the very start of lockdown, I saw the Noise Next Door produce a little video of them doing trick shots around the house, like throwing a toilet roll so it lands perfectly in the holder and stuff like that. And I was like, I might do some of this for cards, and suddenly got a lot of time on my hands. So I started really pushing myself at what I always thought I knew was theoretically possible, and then just started pushing a little bit more, and it became a real pastime / hobby / savior for me of something to do, a project.
You're so good at it. I love that. There was one. What did I see the other day?
I'm not very good at it, mate. I'm just fucking persistent. That's the
difference. I suppose. Yeah, but what I like is that you do put the videos up where you see you're building up to it. Like, I mean, even that is only like a couple of minutes. Even that, but I imagine it just takes hours. Just,
mate, it's funny. Some tricks I'll do within like 10 shots, and be like, how the hell did that happen? And I think the one that took me the longest was about 4 hours.
Wow.
Yeah, and I just kept thinking, by the end, your hands are aching, because when you're doing card throwing, you're actually using you're using your fingers or your thumb there, and they're actually little muscles. And they're not supposed to be used over and over and over again. That's, if you want a fast track to RSI, pick up card throwing, because, you just wear out these muscles so quickly. So by the end, your hands are aching, and you're just like, I can't do it anymore. I'm not going to get it. And then just something clicks, and bam, you get it.
Mate, it's so impressive. I know it was one I saw the other day. There was someone else that did it, and it looked like an abacus, and he was trying to get the cards to hang in between the things.
Oh,
and
like 2 ping pong balls, was it?
Yeah, it was like a row of them, and he was trying to get, and in the end, and he did it, and it was like 4 in a row.
That's the tricky. That's Magic of Matt. This is a guy from the USA. I've talked to him. It's funny. It's a really kind of small community of cards.
I can imagine.
There's not many of us. I'd say we're not so much a dying breed as a breed that should be dead. Right? But I've talked to him, and the thing with the trick shot is getting 1 is one thing, but getting 2 in a row is exponentially harder than getting 1.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
It's like imagine like a bowler hitting the wicket 6 times in a row.
Yeah.
Getting once is great. Great bowl, amazing. Imagine getting 2 in a row. Imagine getting 3 in a row, and it gets harder and harder and harder. So the fact that he got 4 in a row is insane.
Yeah. And I couldn't believe it. I was like, there's a few videos that I like. There's a couple of lads that, again, they're trying to get a baseball bat to stand on its end. They're trying to get all the ping pong ball. I watch those videos for hours.
Yeah.
I don't do it myself, but I love watching it when there's a guy sitting on the stairs and he's pinging the ping pong balls.
Oh, they go on the pots and pans and stuff. Yeah. Pong, 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 pong. That's really popular out there, isn't that? Loads of people doing that. And they're making money off it, mate. They're making money.
Oh, mate. Yeah. I know. But then we go, and then I'll go, all right, I'll do that then. I'll make some money. I make nothing. No.
I did have one guy in the States approach me from my videos saying he's got a card game for students to get them drunk. It's called Dare or Drink or Do or Drink.
Right.
Essentially, you pick up a card and it's got a dare written on it. Like, patch the person to your left or, send your mum this text or something. And either you do the dare or you drink the number of drinks it says on the card. So he said, I've got this game and I've seen your card tricks and I was wondering if you'd do some videos for me using my game.
Yeah.
Using my cards. And I said, first off, mate, I'm doing these videos in my kitchen. If you want any sort of production value, that's going to cost a lot. I have to hire a studio. So first things first, are you happy with the sort of production value I've got? He was like, yeah. And so then I sent him 10 different ideas with his cards. And I said, pick 4 or 5 and I'll do them for you. And we did them. And he asked, what was I trying to say? I was worried because I was like, this is just a guy off the internet. So I said, I quoted him high. Yeah. And he said, okay. And I was like, shit. And I said, okay, give me half the money first. And he put it straight away. And I was like, shit, no, I've got to do it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I ended up sending the videos and he didn't end up using any of them, but I got paid.
Mate.
So I was like, okay.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah. Give me your free money.
Yeah, I think he was like, can we make this look like it's, can we get a bit of background? I was like, mate, it's my cupboards. I told you that.
You saw what it was.
You saw exactly what it was.
Yeah. I wasn't a sneaky Spielberg. I was just doing this until...
What's it all green screen, mate?
Yeah. I could have been anywhere. I decided to make it look like a kitchen.
That's right. They're not even cards; they're chopsticks, mate.
But you're a parent now. Is that right?
I'm a parent. I've got a 4-year-old, soon to be 5-year-old daughter, and it's life changing. It's like you're a parent. You know what it's like.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Changes. Well, you just your life is all about the child.
It so is, and everyone tells you, you're going to lose sleep, you're going to, it's going to be chaos, you're going to be doing this over and over again. No one tells you, I don't know if it's just me, but how it must have unlocked some emotional keystone in me, because ever since I've had a kid, I just get so emotional about the smallest things.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I remember I saw a bank ad where they had a granddad and the grandkids give him something and I was just in tears. I was like, it's just connecting with his dead wife, and it just every little thing just makes me tear up, mate.
Dude, I blubber everything. I watched what's it called? Is it Christmas? It was called The Holiday, that's it. Which is not a great film, but I was crying my eyes out.
Cameron Diaz learns how to cry through the love of Jude Law, while simultaneously Kate Winslet is finding new appreciation from Jack Black. Oh yeah, I've heard of it. It's my wife's favourite Christmas movie, so I've seen it about 50 times.
Dude,
it's just on in the background, and she loves it.
I've never seen it before. I always put it off because the advert just looked so schmaltzy in Hollywood, and I was like, I'm not watching that. And then it was put on, Honestly, by the end of it, I'm like, oh my God. I'm so happy. And the old guy, and man.
A couple of days ago, I don't know if you can, there's a picture up, a piece of paper up on my whiteboard there. My daughter started drawing a box on a piece of paper, and she was like, Daddy, I'm drawing a stage. And then she said, Daddy, I'm drawing you on the stage.
Wow.
And then she said, I'm giving you a microphone. I was like, how do you know I use a microphone? I've never seen a picture. I've never talked about it. But anyway, she said, use a microphone. And she drew some chairs. She said, I'm going to draw some people in the audience.
What?
And she drew some people, and one of them was frowning, but that's okay.
She's nailed it.
Yeah, she nailed it, mate. This is like Edinburgh.
There's always someone frowning.
Yeah, and then she folded it up and gave it, and she said, you can take this and go show your friends at work if you want. And I was just like, oh, darling, this is the most beautiful thing. It just ruined me, mate. Ruined me.
Mate, I cry all the time. Watch it. I can't watch Up because that kills me. The beginning of Up kills me. Can't watch it.
Stop.
Can't watch it.
I'm tearing up just remembering it.
Oh man, just a little. I've said this a few times on here. Just a bit when they're at the beginning, when they're getting older, and then they go to walk up the hill, and she can't. You have to go back down and help her. Oh, my heart just kills me, man. Oof.
Yeah. So no, yeah, it's great having a daughter, and all the emotions that come with it.
Yeah, man. It's nice, and isn't it nice to know that you have that in you, that you're not just a cold-hearted piece of shit.
Yeah, right. Like, the real unresolved trauma was in us all along.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it comes from, because well, clearly it's always been there, but just like having a daughter, being a parent, being vulnerable, and I think it's something maybe as well about having a girl. It's just, I think it might be a little bit different to having a boy. I don't know. I've only had a girl, but it's just very sweet and pure, and just I love her to bits.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Do you know, it's funny being, I know now it's different, but when I was growing up, and it was always, you were told to respect women and protect women. I mean, I know that now it's different. Obviously, women can stand on their own 2 feet and sort themselves out, but there is still that need to protect. And do you know what I mean? It's a weird thing. Yeah. And if women listen to this, it's like, I don't mean you can't.
Of course,
deal with things yourself. The way I've been brought up is just that there's a need to kind of. You know what I mean? Like in all the films, it's all right, take back, stand back, I'll take care of this. It's that, it's just in you. I don't know why.
It's in you. But, counter to that, I'm also teaching her, like, we use words like strong and like, you're brave, and we try to not dwell on like, oh, look how pretty this is, or look how, like, I want strong. So, anytime she picks herself up, I'm like, yeah, brave girl, strong girl, aren't you? Yeah, you're a tough girl, aren't you?
Yeah.
Really get that. Play rugby. Yeah.
Punch that dude. No, don't punch that dude. But you grew up you're from New Zealand.
I'm from New Zealand, so I've got a bit of a complicated background for those just getting to know me. My parents are from Nicaragua. My mum is Chinese, but was born and raised in Nicaragua. And then when I was 4 years old, we moved to New Zealand. Actually, a little bit more complicated. My parents got out of a civil war in the 70s, and I was born in Costa Rica. We lived in Florida for a couple of years after that, after living in Costa Rica. So when I got to New Zealand, I actually had an American accent for the first couple of years.
Wow, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's quite a heritage.
It's, in my passport under nationality, it just says plenty.
Musk.
Yeah. Just take your pick, mate.
Just whatever one you want.
Whatevs. Yeah.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. So, we moved to Christchurch, New Zealand in the mid-'80s, and I remember starting school, and I was the only non-white kid at school.
How did that feel?
It felt weird. I didn't notice until one kid, and it wasn't, looking back, it was like, oh God, how could that happen? But it was just a kid being curious. He was just like, why is your skin brown? It's just the mid-'80s Christchurch, New Zealand, and he was just being curious. And I was like, I didn't really know how to answer that. I was like, I don't know. Yeah, and I went home and told my dad, and I think my dad immediately got on the defensive. And I said, Dad, a kid at school asked me why I'm brown. And he said, you go back tomorrow and ask him why he's pink.
And he was just innocently just saying,
it was just innocent,
because he's never met someone like you before.
Exactly. So that was my first induction of school.
Yeah.
And then slowly I started realizing, like, oh, I've come from a different country. And then, you know, like after about a month, you know, we got a Chinese student, and then more people started coming in, you know. But I was always like, I paved the way.
Yeah. Trailblazer.
Yeah, I was here first. I was lone wolfing this shit.
How did you feel about everything that happened to Christchurch? That must have been...
Mate, Christchurch just went through some horrible, horrible times. Like, so Annie and I, we moved over in 2010, and 2011 they had this horrible earthquake, and yeah, it was awful. And I remember I was about to go to bed, and I saw first some posts on Facebook start coming through about some of my friends back in Christchurch going about what had happened, and I slowly clicked on the news, and I could see what was happening, and we realized it was something really major. And I woke up Annie. We just spent the rest of the night looking at the news and trying to contact family and everything. Luckily, my family got in touch very quickly and let us know they're okay. Annie couldn't get in touch with her mum for a long time, so that was quite a lot of you know, worrying and stuff.
Yeah,
it's interesting. We first called I think her sister, and her sister was very upset, very distraught. And, you know, she was dealing with her own stuff. She had 3 kids, 2 kids in the house. Anyway, later on, months later, we were talking about it, and her sister doesn't even remember that phone call.
No way.
Yeah, does not remember that phone call.
Oh my God. It was she was just you know, dealing with what had gone on.
Yeah, just, sorry, mate, I had a lot to deal with. Can't remember that phone call. Yeah.
Mate, it must be hard when you're that far away from everybody, and you see that go on, and there's nothing you can do.
There's nothing you can do. And the only thing, you know, we'd be sitting there going, oh God, what can we do? And our parents were like, we're just so happy you're not here, because it's one less person or one less family we have to worry about.
Yeah. Wow,
but I did get a feeling that when I went back to Christchurch after that to go to a festival, there was a feeling of like, you're from Christchurch, but you weren't part of the earthquake. Like, you know, we went through it, you didn't, you know?
Oh, right. Okay. That's interesting.
Yeah. Which, of course, I'm not going to begrudge them. They absolutely did go through it, and I didn't.
Yeah, of course not. Yeah. It's funny, because I've never really experienced that before until I was in Wellington, and I remember being woken up in the morning, and all the cupboard doors kind of like swung open in the hotel room, and I because I was asleep, I was like, oh, what was that? It must have been a truck going by or something like that. And it wasn't until I went out and spoke to Ziggy, who's at...
San Fran promoter.
Yeah, when I saw Ziggy, and he went, oh yeah, mate, it was fucked. It was out and he showed me, it was out in the bay, and he said, that's where it was on the Richter scale, and he go, holy shit. Whereas I just thought it was a truck going by. I'm like, whoa, that was weird. And all the cupboards opening. He's like, yeah, that was pretty
It is a really eerie thing for when an earthquake happens, because it takes a few seconds for you to realise what's happening. Because things start with low rumble, then you start... And it takes you about, a good 4 seconds to go, oh shit, it's an earthquake. Yeah. And when I was back home, there were still loads of aftershocks. But everyone in Christchurch was so used to them, and I wasn't. So I'd be sitting, I'd be having coffee with a friend, and suddenly the whole cafe starts shaking. I'm like, fuck. And they just kind of lift up their coffee cups, just keep talking to you.
Yeah. Just like, so anyway.
Yeah, they put it back down and go, about a 3.8, maybe.
You get to know. Yeah.
Like they're guessing a pit stop or something.
Yeah.
Oh, that was a good 2.8. Yeah, that's good.
When I describe New Zealand to people, because it's one of the best places I've ever been, the people, I just fell in love instantly.
Oh, great! We love hearing that.
Love it. Oh, it's such a beautiful place. And when I explain it to people, I'm like, well, it's like the UK, but more dramatic. Like the landscape, because obviously it moves around a bit more, so there's a lot more going on. But yeah, it was. I just love the place, and I can't wait to go back.
It's funny. New Zealanders love hosting, and I think that's something to do with maybe how far away everyone appreciates it is for people to come. Everyone always talks about, it's so far away. It's after that, it's maybe Antarctica. For longer trips. So people really love hosting. They love people coming over and having a great time. But the people themselves are very stoic, very tall poppy syndrome going on. New Zealand actually has, for a long time, it had the highest rate of youth suicide in the world.
Oh, shit.
So, it's beautiful. And, there's this image that New Zealand projects, which is clean, green, inclusive, beautiful, extreme, thrill-seeking. But there are a lot of problems, and mental health is, really one of the forefront problems of New Zealand.
I remember there was a lot of talk about domestic violence.
Yep.
When I was there, and you're like, fuck, I didn't know, because you don't know if you're not from there, you kind of go, oh, this is a beautiful place. Everyone seems really chilled. And like, oh no, the statistics for that alone are through the roof. And you're like,
yeah. But look at the mountain. Look at the mountain. Look at the mountain. Yeah.
And that kind of blew my mind a little bit, where you just don't know what's going on under the surface anyway.
Absolutely, mate. Absolutely.
You know? So for you, growing up in Christchurch, and then you got your head around it, you got used to it, and people got used to you.
Yeah.
And then you moved to the UK from there.
Did move to the UK. Moved over in 2010. I'd started doing comedy, and it was going quite well in New Zealand, or it was going well for what I was doing at the time. And then Annie wanted to come over to the UK for a little bit, and I was like, I feel like I'm doing well here. And then we came over to the UK, and I knew I was going to have to start again from zero. Yeah. And I remember trying to get 5 minutes anywhere in comedy. And I remember I got booked in for about 4 open mics at this place called the Comedy Bin.
Well, I don't even know where that is.
I don't think it exists anymore. If you don't call it the Comedy Bin. I did one night at the Comedy Bin, and I was desperate for 5 minutes anywhere. I said, cancel the other 3, please.
Yeah, right. It was that bad.
It was that bad. And so I was over here, and I was feeling really low. And in that December, we moved over in like July, and that December, I got an email from some producers in New Zealand saying, that big televised Christmas stand-up concert that we do every year in New Zealand that you've been wanting to be on for years? Do you want to be on it this year? And I was like, I'm trying to flush the taste of the Comedy Bin out of my mouth over here in London, trying to get 5 minutes anywhere. And that was a real low point. I'd always known about mental health and depression and things being... But I don't think I'd ever experienced it because I'd never had any tragedy in my life, Rich. I didn't have anything to overcome. I had a great life. I had loving parents. I had a nice education. I had good friends, everything. I never had that. But that first 2 years, having moved over from New Zealand, was really, really tough. I was incredibly lonely. You start questioning, what am I doing here? What have I thrown away? And it's really tough. I remember, I think the first Edinburgh I did, Annie texted the show. So we were up there together for the whole Edinburgh. We just moved over.
Nice.
But the second one, I went up by myself. And, I'd only met a couple of comedians at one point. And one day I was in the pub after my show, or in one of the bars, and Gary Trow came up to me and he's like, hello, mate. And I just looked at him and he's like, Jesus Christ, are you all right? And I started talking and I suddenly realized I actually hadn't talked to anyone that wasn't an audience member or someone in a shop or waiting staff for about 5 days.
Oh my God.
Just had not had a conversation with anyone for 5 days.
Shit, man.
And that was real loneliness,
It's mad that can happen. And you don't realise until, like you say, until you start talking to someone else and oh shit, I've not done this for a while.
And you're surrounded by people.
That's the
You're
thing.
at a festival. You're surrounded by people. Mate. You're surrounded by audiences. They're laughing. It's really weird because like your only social interaction for the day would be an audience, and I just want to make them laugh, and they're laughing, and the show's going really well. It's great, and then they leave, and you go and get changed, and then you go out and into this incredibly crowded festival, but very much on your own.
Mate, the amount of times, I might have said this on here before, the amount of times I've been stood in doorways with it pissing down with rain, and you're in a city with everyone that you know, but because everyone's on their own thing, everyone's running around doing whatever they're doing. Yeah, there are moments where you go, fuck, I feel so lonely. I'm on my own.
Yeah.
It's a really weird feeling, and then you sort of like you gather yourself up again, and then you get into it, and you start you gig or you do something. But I remember being up there as a flyer in 2005 or 6. I was flyering for Just a Tonic, and I hadn't been in comedy very long. I'd only been in comedy a couple of years, so nobody really knew who I was. And I'd only just started gigging as well.
Yeah.
And I remember being up there, I was so alone. And my accommodation, I was on my own and just on my own. And the thing about being on your own is it's awful because we're social creatures.
We crave social stimulation. We need it, actually. And the other horrible thing about if you're feeling that way in Edinburgh is not only you're surrounded by people, you're surrounded by other people's success. You're walking past posters with these reviews on them and just like, these things are sold out. It's just so easy to compare yourself to everyone else up there that seems to be having a whale of a time. And as we all know, comparison is the thief of joy,
Yeah, absolutely, man.
The second you feel good, if you're having a good day and you're feeling good about something, throw your phone out the fucking window, because the second you jump online and have a look at any socials, I don't care if you've just shat gold, you'll look through your socials and just find someone that is doing something and just suddenly go, how do they get that? Or look at what, and you start comparing it to what you've done. And I don't know why we do this. And we'll just feel like shit, and your accomplishments or your achievements or whatever you felt like, you just compare against this, and suddenly it's not good enough, even though 5 minutes ago you were top of the world because of it. And you'll look at that and you're angry and make yourself feel shit about it. And then what do? You keep scrolling so you can have that sensation again.
Yep. And it just fucking kills you.
It really kills you. Sometimes, like, I do have to stop and go, fuck no, it's okay. It's okay, because I look back at what I used to do in Christchurch, and just, if I could tell myself back then, by the way, mate, in a bit, you'll be living in London, you'll be a working comedian, going around doing comedy clubs. You would have traveled to different countries in the world doing your job, to perform, I would have gone, no way.
I know.
I've got to go perform to 4 people at the Monday night, because there was no comedy in Christchurch. Me and my friends had to put on shows ourselves.
Oh, mate. Well, that's like, Steve Hughes said that about Australia, living where he lived. Like, there weren't any bands doing the music that he loved, so he had to create his own and make his own band. Yeah, that's the same with you. You had to create your own.
We had to do comedy ourselves, and the thing was, anyone funny in Christchurch would kind of get funny for a bit. Like Brendan Lovegrove did this, Penny Ashton did this, Jared Christmas I think did this. They would get funny in New Zealand, in Christchurch. They'd put on a comedy night, which would survive for about 4 to 6 months, and then they'd go to Auckland. But in Jared's case, he went to the UK. And so, comedy in Christchurch would build up until that driving force would fly off. Yeah. And we did that, and we performed to, I think the lowest was about 3 or 4 people. And then one day, I remember it was a Monday night in a pub, and then one day there was like a tour bus coming through that had broken down or something, and so suddenly we had about 40 people in the pub. We did not know what the fuck to do with ourselves. We were like, this is it, this is the big time. It's just not a drill. Calm down, you stay calm. Shut up, there's 40 fucking people out there, don't fuck this up.
Yeah. But that fucks you up.
It does. So to come from there, if I could have told myself then, this is what I'm going to be doing now, and even now, today, you kind of, you have these moments of like, what am I doing? Oh, shit, it's awful. I haven't done that. When am I going to do this?
Well, I think that's the same with, not necessarily just our industry, but with across the board. Social media comes up quite a bit on here, because we do compare ourselves to what's going on there, and we only put up the best bits of ourselves. Everyone knows
absolutely.
that. I remember tweeting about this, just saying, none of us we always put up, whenever one of us says, we go, just want to say thanks to the venue last night, what an audience, thanks to this person, thank you so much for having me, what a night. No one ever puts it up when they died on their ass and go, I just like to tell that venue to go fuck itself. Everyone that came, you're a bunch of pricks.
Yeah.
You made me feel like shit. Yeah. I'm glad you wasted money fucking coming to see me. Go fuck yourselves.
Yeah, I'm glad I died in front of you. I don't want any sort of joy coming into your lives, you miserable pricks.
Well, no one ever does that. It's always like, big shout out to the bar staff and the...
Hashtag stay humble.
Yeah.
Like, social media is like the burger on the picture at McDonald's, on the menu. And your real life is what you get served,
This is it. Yeah. That saggy, soggy bun.
Yeah.
I did, yes. But yeah, it is. Even yesterday, was it yesterday, day before? Might have been yesterday, when all the lists started coming out for Edinburgh and like top 50 shows to see, top 20 shows to see.
Yes, I saw your post about that. Yeah, you Garrett.
Yeah, no, that was it. And there was just a flash, just a moment, just a feeling in my stomach where I was like, oh, this again. I'm not on the list. Just for a fleeting second. And then I went, no, that you're falling for it again. You're getting sucked in. Don't get sucked in. And then I'm like, I'm not the only one that's feeling that way. So I was like, I'm going to say something. So my point is, we all feel the same. We're only human.
Listeners, if you didn't catch it, Rich did a lovely post yesterday when all the lists come out and it's all PR hype, and he just said, look, you just work on your show. Don't be distracted by all this noise. Don't get discouraged. And mate, it lifted my spirits for the day. So mission accomplished.
Lovely. That's
and
what
you have to remember that. It's all a PR fucking machine up there. Yeah. And yes, there's no shade on these shows that got on there.
No, of course not. No.
But the only thing you can do is just focus on yourself and keep your head down and do your own work. But it is human, and you know, to have that jealousy. And let's call it what it is. That jealousy of like, fuck, how did I not get on that list? You know? How did I not get that review? How did I not get that that quote? How did I not get this accolade or something? And it's funny that we get these things that that's niggle away at you. You know, when we're supposed to be these hardened comedians that could deal with anything in a club on a Friday, Saturday night. And suddenly there's a list without my name on it. You know, and suddenly we're thrown into the fucking lines. And oh, how am I supposed to know? But it's just such a mind fuck, man.
Yeah, no, that's the same in general, in life in general. This is, you know, like that whole thing about keeping up with the Joneses, like, you know, looking over the garden fence and seeing that next door neighbour's got a better car than you, and and all that sort of shit. We you know, that thing
we're
about
just never happy.
We're never happy. You know, there's that thing, you know, you should, you know, don't covet thy neighbour's ox.
Yeah.
And all that. It's like, I mean, you know,
yeah, especially when I've got an ox. It's a pretty good ox. I've worked really hard on it. Yeah, but their ox got on a list.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that one's got a gold yoke. It's got, you know.
Check out those hooves.
Yeah, whoa, manicured. Hello, mate. Someone's doing well.
And it's a constant balance, because sometimes you can justify it to yourself. Sometimes going, well, that just means I've got ambition, I've got drive, and I've got initiative, you know, and I don't want to settle. But at the same time, you know, stop and smell the roses. And that's something I've been trying to tell myself for the last, say, 5 years. Stop and smell the roses. Appreciate what you're doing. I had a hard last couple of months. My wife was away for most of the months on business trips and stuff. Right. And I felt a little bit like I'd been quite stagnant in my work. I was, you know, parenting on my own, which is always exhausting as well on top of that. And I was just having a chat to my dad about like, I'm not feeling 100%. And he was like, don't stop now. And he said something he'd never said. And he was like, you owe it to yourself for all the work you've put in up until now to just keep going and work through it. Yeah. You don't owe it to your wife. You don't owe it to, you know, well, of course, sorry. Yeah, you could go down the cliff. You owe it to your family, you owe it to your parents, you owe it to society. But he never said, you know what, you owe it to yourself. Everything you've done up till now, every graft, every long drive in the car, every time you've got up for a gig, you're like, I'm not sure about doing that. Every time you've grafted away trying to do a new joke, or, you know, slogged yourself through a festival, all that, you owe it to yourself. Yeah. For all that previous stuff you've done. Yeah. And that was probably the most uplifting thing I'd heard from my dad in 39 years.
But it's true. Everything you've done has got you to the point where you're at now. Every fuck up, every plan that you pulled off, everything is where it's got you where you're at now. And you have to take a moment, like you said, to kind of go, yeah, cool, all right, there's food in the cupboards. All right, I could do with a bit more money, but you know that comes and goes. And then the kids are well, wife's good, marriage is fine. Yeah, but it's hard. It is hard, because I'm guilty of doing that. I'll be lying on my bed going, oh, for fuck's sake, why haven't I got this? Why haven't I got that? Failing to look around the fact that, one, I've got a roof over my head. I'm surrounded by stuff. I've got. I'm doing all right.
As I tossed and turned in my king size bed. It's the thing, mate. It's do you know what's funny? Like, we talk about mental health and everything, and anytime, we always say, if there's a mate, if there's someone you know that's struggling, you will be gushing with forgiveness and understanding and kindness. You know, you'll be like, mate, take the time you need. I'm here for if you want to talk. Anything. Take time off work on yourself. But the second it's about you are so hard on yourself. We are hard on ourselves.
Oh God, yeah. You
know, you'll have all the time in the world for a mate. And the second you're like, do I need to work on myself? You got no time for that.
No time.
You're like, no, I've got to tough this through. I've got to work through it.
Feels selfish as well, almost.
Doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, when you put yourself first, you kind of, I don't know, it just feels odd. It's like,
we're not used to it.
No.
We're not used to it. And, you know, we've grown up in a generation previous where it was just shut up and carry on, get on with it, get your head down, get to hard work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you mentioned your dad.
Yeah.
Have you got a good relationship with your dad?
I've got a good relationship with my dad. I've got a good relationship with my parents. I think that my parents were very, very good parents. Very good parents. They went through totally different experiences to me. Like, they grew up in Nicaragua, which is one of the poorest countries in the world. Dad became a programmer. Right. So that's how he got, he got a good qualification there. But before that, there was an earthquake in their city that destroyed the city. They're just waking up in the middle of the night. Their house was like literally everything was down.
Wow.
Mum and dad spent the night like ferrying people to and from hospitals and just dodging bodies in the streets and everything. It was awful. And then after that, they had a civil war that they got out of.
Oh my God.
So, they literally left Nicaragua under gunfire. There was a bit where they had to kind of cross from one zone, the battle zone, to the safe zone. And like they'd kind of like, they were in a group and like one would go like, run now. And one would run and then, and then my mum at that point was like holding my older sister, who was a baby at that time, like pushing it, go now! And shit. So they got out.
Oh my
got to
God.
Costa Rica. So they've got a wildly different world perspective.
Yeah.
So, when they're talking about, I was trying to get out of, they've been through the Civil War where they're literally shot at and worried about this and this earthquake that came around them. Those were their problems. And I would come home and go, I didn't make the improv team, like it's just, we've got wildly different world perspectives.
Yeah.
And so they're always very, I think they always brought me up with really good principles and, what I should be doing. This is what life's about. Here's our advice and everything. But day to day, like kind of a chummy relationship with your parents. I don't think I've really had a kind of chummy relationship with my parents. Like, and I think a big contributing factor to that was my parents, their first language is Spanish.
Right.
And when I moved to New Zealand, I grew up with English as my first language. And I think a lot of immigrant children, or children's second-generation immigrant, first-generation immigrant, I always forget how it works out, but, people whose parents have moved over from a country, immigrated to a new country, and you can see the children, their English assimilates into the local accent and dialect and, colloquialisms and everything, and your parents stays very much different. So it wasn't until later life that I realized my parents and I can't speak to each other in our first languages.
Right, yeah, okay.
So I think a lot of stuff would have been lost in translation. Looking back, there were a lot of times, because we would speak Spanish at home. That's how I can still speak a little bit of Spanish. But I remember lots of times in retrospect where we'd be having arguments about something and I'd just get so frustrated because I realized I didn't know how to articulate my feelings in Spanish nowhere near as eloquently or as accurately as I could in English.
Yeah, right. And they couldn't understand it the other way.
They could, but it always felt weird talking to my parents in English. It was just I would always. It was really weird looking back. So I would be, trying to get a point across in Spanish, but I would try to be saying like, "This is how I'd say it in English," but I didn't have to come down to some like drop several reading levels to explain it in Spanish and just be like, "Me not feeling good now." Whereas, what I really want to be saying is like, "Okay, I hear you on that, but I think the nuance of what you're trying to say is not quite, And then I'm just going like, "No, you're wrong. Me." Right.
And they go, what is wrong with him?
Exactly. And they'd be like, what's your problem, mate?
Yeah. He just chunters away in English. Blah, 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 blah. But when it...
Yeah. So with that, having missed out on that kind of chumminess, I think as I grew older, and there was a bit where I specifically moved, I've got a computer science degree. I went to university. I was a programmer for 2 years out of university, and then I quit to pursue this ridiculous thing called performing. And I think, my parents were obviously very concerned and like worried, and we had, I remember, plenty of arguments around the time leading up to it, and then when it happened, where again, I didn't feel like I could completely express my full feelings, and that just kind of led to like us not, having a bit of like just heads butting.
Yeah.
Talking through it. I think we both kind of eventually accepted it and everything. But for a long time, my parents were very academically driven. They were kind of ones like, if you don't come home with an A, what's your problem?
Yeah, got it.
They would always say, we go to work. Your work is school. So do good at your work. Bring an A home, otherwise you're slacking off at work.
Wow.
So I remember wanting to tell them how good, that this performing thing was a good choice and everything. But things that were happening, how you move through, like you have your 5 minutes and then you have your first 10 minutes and then you have, you get asked to do this or you get asked to do that. When I would tell them, I realized that they just didn't understand what that meant.
No, of course not.
They didn't have any sort of like, they were like, is that a good thing? Is that, did you get a raise?
Yeah.
Like, what happened there? And it got to the point where I actually just stopped inviting them to things. And the first time you do an hour.
Yeah.
it's a big moment for any performer. The first time you do your solo hour, I didn't invite them to it.
Did you know? I
didn't invite them to it.
No.
And looking back, I just feel a bit icky about that because I think at the time I just would have been thinking, oh, it'll just be easier if I just don't invite them. But looking back, it's a big, it's a big time, and I didn't invite them.
Oh, mate. Have they been since?
Oh, they've been since, yeah.
It's just what you do. It was a big thing for you, and
yeah,
you don't want to embarrass yourself in front of them, I guess, and
I think
there's all manner of things at play.
Totally. There was a festival in New Zealand that I came back, so I moved to the UK, came back, and there's a festival in New Zealand called the World Buskers Festival, and opened up to more comedy and stuff. They give 2 awards out every year. One's for the best international performer, and one for the best local New Zealand performer. And I won the best New Zealand performer, and I think
brilliant.
I invited them to that, and I think it was one of the first times that I could see them really click. Like, oh, you're quite good at this. You can, and exactly. You can see this chicken behind me. It's an iron chicken. It's made by a local artist. And
that's what it is.
It's an iron chicken.
I thought it was a giraffe. I've got to be honest. From here.
Yeah. It looks like, and I got the trophy, and I came down to my parents, and my dad looked at the trophy, and the first thing he said was, "It looks like the Nando's chicken."
Thanks, Dad.
Cheers, Dad. Cheers, bro.
We had to pop that balloon. Thanks, Dad.
Yeah.
Thanks, mate. It's funny with my parents. They're very supportive.
Yeah.
They don't understand it. My dad says they won't come and see me because they're worried about people heckling.
Really?
That's what he sees. He goes,
I think they should be worried for the people who are heckling you.
Yeah. Just come. Watch me deal with it.
Yeah, exactly.
But they're still like having, again, not blowing my own trumpet, but having won awards for it from New Zealand, funnily enough. Yeah. And
mate, they're just giving them away in New Zealand.
Yeah, they don't give a shit, do they?
Evidently. I mean, we both got one.
I didn't get an award like that, but it was still nice to get. But the thing is, when you won awards and you've done this, you've done that, and my mum and dad still, they can't. My mum's like, because it's not a proper job as they see it, and then my mum will still, every time the conversation of school comes up, bearing in mind I've not been to school since 1988. It's always like, if you'd applied yourself, think what you could have achieved. I'm like, I've travelled the world. I'm an award-winning comedian. I've got shit going on, and I wouldn't have done this if I worked in a bank. Yeah. So
how does that make you feel, mate? Like, because I think we're in the same boat here. That maybe our parents don't quite get,
They're supportive, but they don't get it. And I just felt it used to really upset me. Yeah. But now I'm sort of, I go, do you know what? They're never gonna. It's more my mum than my dad. My dad's pretty, and I'm not slagging either of them off. They're both great,
of course.
But there's that. I remember, I've said this on here before. I remember there was a moment I was like, I'm going to do barbering just to have something, because I quite fancy being a hairdresser, being a barber, and I'm going to train to do that. And Mum was over the moon. Finally, proper job. No, as well as Mum, not just Yeah, and it's I don't know. It's just a different generation. It's a generation thing.
I get it, mate. I get it, and it's not to blow smoke up your ass, but it's you, Rich Wilson, a critically acclaimed comedian, and you've got the respect of pretty much every comedian I know. You're doing this podcast, like you said, you travel the world, you're award winning, but the person, we all come down to it. The person whose approval we want the most is our parents.
Yeah.
Or those closest to us.
You want them to
partners,
say. The day that they said, my mum did say, she went, we're proud of you, right? And I nearly did. Yeah, again, it was like up all over again. I'm like, yeah. Oof. Okay.
Yeah. It is funny. Like that's anything like that, and like we're talking before about like crying anything in movies. Like, anything where parents will have a chat to their kids and say, like, we didn't do this or didn't do that, or just let them know we are proud of you. Just sit them down and look them in the eye and go, we are proud of you.
Yeah.
We appreciate what you've done. That, it just sets me off.
Dude, I say it to my lads.
Must be telling.
Yeah. I need some counselling, I think, because I'm crying. But I say to my lads all the time, and they're grown-ups now, but I still, like, my youngest is in a band, my eldest is a dancer. And I still, whenever they put videos up, I'm like, I'm so proud to be your dad.
Oh, good on you, mate.
And it's things like that. And you'll be the same. Like when yours get older, You have that. You'll just, as long as you. I did say to them when we were growing up. I said we must always hug when we see each other, and we must always tell each other we love each other. That must never change because it's so important, and we stuck to it, man.
And do you think you've passed that down from your relationship with your parents? Like, do you think you make this point of like, we must hug and tell each other we love each other because it's something that you didn't feel that you had with your parents?
Absolutely. Yeah. They weren't very touchy-feely. You know, they provided, you know, we didn't want for anything.
Yeah.
We had everything we needed, but they weren't very tactile, you know, like, you're all right, mate.
Yeah.
God, you see all emotional now. It set you off. It's good to see you, man. It's just, yeah, they weren't very tactile. They did their best with what they had.
Yeah.
But maybe I've gone too far the other way, and I just always, I mean, and they're big lads as well. They're both like 6'1", 6'2". Yeah. And I still like, come on,
here, give me a hug, you.
Come on,
They're too big to hug your dad. Come
here. They pick me up under my armpits. Yeah. Oh man, look, emotional, man. I love that. It's beautiful.
Oh mate.
Yeah.
I told you, anything with you know, these days, just like drop of a hat, just like, yes, I know how you feel.
It's funny, isn't it? It's funny. It's been a couple of times on here. Yeah, you just flick the lid off the emotions, and it's just
something little. Like I did a show called The Immigrant Diaries for Sajila Kirscher, and she just asked me to do it. She was like, do you have a story about maybe being an immigrant or just anything? And I told a story, like a bit more of a long-winded story about winning this chicken and stuff. And on stage, I just started crying. I started crying in the middle of and I wasn't expecting it. And just suddenly, I got to a point in the story, and I just started crying.
Mate.
Like, hardcore. And
yeah.
And
mate.
I'm being very funny. I'm sorry.
But do you know what? I'd rather be like that, the way, you know, to be that in touch with your emotions, or you know, you go, I'll just cry at a drop of a hat. I'd rather be like that than how I used to be, just shut off and closed in and trying to be stoic and kind of no one needs to see this. No one needs to see this. Now it's just like I cried watching Liar Liar.
Oh yeah, I've recently seen it, mate.
Oh mate, I want to be a better dad. I want to be a better dad too. But you know what? You do feel amazing after a really good. I remember.
Lean into a good cry. Lean into it. Oh my God!
Jesus Christ! A good old blub, just sobbing.
Just emotional flush. Yes. Yeah. Get it out. It's like clearing your mental history. You know, it's like, you know, in the browser you got too many tabs open. That's a good cry. That just shuts them all down.
That's it. Yeah.
Oh, everything's running a bit better now, a bit faster, a bit crisper.
Yeah. And you can feel it after the rain has come. It's like out when you go outside, and you can, like after a storm, and it's just it's like there's an energy in there in the atmosphere.
And there's a rainbow, Rich. There's a rainbow. And it's funny, like I remember growing up when I said I'd really never had any issues until I came to the UK and I was very lonely. And then after that, you know, I started making friends, I started getting better at comedy, and then from about, you know, there's a good period of about good 4 years. Well, I felt really good. And then I remember one Edinburgh before I went up there, I just felt like I had all this expectation of so many things, and I had my first panic attack. I'd never had it. I'd never had one before. I was like, oh shit, they're real. And it's interesting because, you know, pandemic aside, I think actually pandemic really exacerbated there were times, you know, it was tough for everyone, but there were some times where it was just like, oh shit, I think I've got some fucking issues during the pandemic. And it was really interesting because I would always go, I've got nothing to bitch and moan about. Like I've got, you know, like I said, I've never had tragedy in my life. I had loving parents. I had didn't have anything awful happen to me in my childhood. I've got a wonderful relationship. I've got a great marriage. I've got a beautiful daughter. I'm living this, you know, this career that I've always wanted. So what the fuck do you have to be bitching and moaning about? Why the fuck would you have problems when there's people out there that have been through real shit? You don't deserve to have this. So shut the fuck up and get on with it. You know?
Yeah. I get it, man. I
think that, you know, that kind of bottles you up for a little bit more. Yeah. And then, but eventually that valve hits red and suddenly, you know,
it comes.
It comes down.
But you're right about that. You kind of, you like you say, you're like, other people are worse off than you, so you should be feeling this way. You're like, well,
how dare you?
Yeah, but you're just in a different place. You know, your experiences are different. You're a different place on the social ladder, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't be affected by things. You know, and especially in somewhere like the Edinburgh Festival, which is like we've already talked about. It's a high pressure thing that. Well, you know, you can't help but be fucked up by it. You know, because there is that feeling of if people aren't coming to your shows or flyering, you're trying to get people to come to your shows, and that rejection every single minute of the day. When you give someone a flyer and they look at you like you've given them a handful of dog shit. Yeah,
absolutely.
It's going to get to you. Of course it is, because your brain doesn't know what's happening. Your brain's just like, oh, why is this person turning me down? Well, they don't know the relationship that you've got. All the brain knows is like a human being that you're interacting with has told you to fuck off.
Yeah.
And that's hard. Of course it's hard, man. You really have to be made of strong stuff to be in that environment for any length of time. I feel, this whole industry's built on rejection. You know, the emails you send out and don't get a reply from, the things you apply to get on and you don't get on them, and people go, yeah, but you're not, at least you're not working in, like you're not driving a van, or you're not, digging holes in the floor. No disrespect to those, 'cause I've done those things, but it's still rejection on a vast scale.
And I find on top of that, there's this, in this day and age, you can get overwhelmed because when we got into the game years ago, I think the model was, or the deal was, you go on stage, you be funny, and if you're funny enough, you'll go be funny in other places, and that's good. Whereas these days, on top of that, now it's, it opens up, you've got to be doing the Fringe, and do you have a YouTube channel? Are you streaming? Are you on these socials? Do you have a podcast? Should you be releasing these videos? How are you doing on TikTok? There's just so many more things where you're like, oh, fuck this.
Yeah.
So sometimes I feel, I don't know about you, but sometimes you wake up and I feel a bit paralyzed about like, I should be doing 900 things today.
Yeah.
And also, because I've stupidly wasted all my time trying to just be funny over the last decade, I am shit at technology and clips and doing a YouTube channel. I'm surprisingly shit at it because I'm learning how to do it now.
Yes.
Everyone's like, you should be nailing that. And you see other people nailing that. I'm like, they were probably doing that before they started, before we realized it's a thing you should be doing. Or other people are very fast learners. Anyway, I'm just saying, on top of lots of rejection in this industry, there's also the added social psychosomatic fuck up of you should be everywhere. Yeah. You should be everywhere all the time.
Everywhere all the time. And you just, and when you're not, you just feel like you've just...
Then what the fuck are you doing?
You failed. You
failed. Look at that comedian. They're everywhere.
Well, you should be there. That's what you should be doing.
They're on the TV. They're on your socials. Every app you open up, their faces on a truck. They're driving by your house. You take a shit. You look at the paper. It kind of looks like their face. Like they're everywhere. What are you doing? You're not promoting yourself at all.
Yeah, you're just being funny.
Yeah, you idiot.
You fucking idiot. How dare you just be funny?
Call yourself a comedian.
Yeah, you should be ashamed of yourself. Yeah, and then we slide out from under the duvet and we do our best. We do our best. But but that, again, that's perception. I look at you. You pop up on my socials a lot. So to me, you're like you're everywhere. You're popping up. Yeah. So I'm like, yeah. So you're the TikTok and all sorts. So I'm like, oh, Javier's doing all right. He's everywhere.
It's all perception, isn't it, mate?
Yeah. And then, but to you, you're like, I don't do enough. I'm like, mate, I've seen 2 different videos this week. It's just like someone's doing something. I get it all the time. People say to me, like, mate, you don't post enough. I'm like, I posted. I've already done it. And then I look, I'm like, I've not posted for a week. Oh shit. Yeah.
But you're doing a podcast right now.
Yeah.
We can't be we've got to be doing something. The point is, you're doing something. You're doing a podcast, which you're doing incredibly well, and I'm very happy to be on it. Exactly,
and yet I'm moaning. I'm not moaning. I'm in my head. I'm like, yeah, but
Mum, check out my podcast, please. Please, love my podcast. Look, no hands on the podcast, please. Please, hug me, love me.
And she'll go, but are you getting paid? Oh, mate, listen, this has been
I don't get it.
brilliant. Oh,
I
hang
can
on.
check the web
Oh, wait,
form.
shush. I've just shouted so loud that Siri's gone, I don't get it. What are you asking?
Yeah.
This has been great, mate. And your show, what's your show about in Edinburgh?
I'm going to be doing 2 shows. I'm going to
Yeah.
be doing Card Ninja, which is the long-standing one-man variety show that I've been doing at Edinburgh, and lots of festivals around the world where I throw playing cards as weapons and pretend to be a ninja.
Nice.
This is going to be the farewell season of that because it's a physical show. You know, I started doing it 10 years ago, and my body has aged 10 years.
Mate,
So-
I bet you could
so
do
when you-
press-ups on one finger now.
and break it immediately. So I'll be doing that at the Gilded Balloon, and I'm also going to be doing, with my partner in crime, Gary Tro, we're doing a sketch show about all the Marvel movies. It's called Marvelous, all the Marvel movies, kind of. So if you're a Marvel fan, you like those movies, come along, see some sketches about that. That's on at 6:10 at Just the Tonic in the Caves at Edinburgh this year.
Oh, beautiful, man. I'll see you there. I'm at the Caves this year.
Oh, yeah?
Just up the road. Yeah, up the road it's called, yeah.
Nice.
I'm in there, so we're going to be buddies, man.
We'll catch you around, bro.
Bloody right, you will, mate. It's going to be great. We're going to have a good time, and we'll look out for
Every
each
time
other.
we see each other, we must hug. We must tell each other we love each other.
Every single time. We're going to do it, and we're going to video it, and we're going to stick it on TikTok. And we're going to... We'll do that, man. Honestly,
Never going to get tired of it.
we're going to do that. Javier, where can we find you on the socials?
On the socials, on Twitter and YouTube, it's this Javier. Just like Javier Bardem. Thank God he got famous. It made it so much easier for me to rather than
Excellent.
spelling my name every time. And on
Javier.
Instagram- Javier Jaquin. Someone said, "Is that your stage name?" I was like, "You fucking high."
Ah,
On Instagram, you can find me at Javier Jaquin comedian. It's spelled Javier Jaquin comedian.
Javier Jaquin.
Comedian on Instagram. Yeah.
Excellent, mate. Thank you so much for coming on. It's been a joy.
Thank you, mate. I've had a great time.
That's been lovely, mate. Listen, and keep crying. It's fucking good for you.
I'm going for a cry right now.
Yeah, me too. Thanks, man.
Nice one, buddy.